As I researched places to explore in Ontario, I came across Brimstone. The name immediately jumped out at me. So, I dug deeper. Established during a quarrying boom in the 1870s, Brimstone emerged as a settlement, primarily occupied by quarry workers and their families. The area was a hub of industrial activity with milling towns, railways, inclines, even aerial tramways. Many iconic buildings in Toronto were built with stone from this area, but production waned, and residents left to find better opportunities. Today, not much is left from the 19th century industrial towns and operations. But all is not lost. Some remnants of the past still exist. And I'm in Brimstone to explore what's left of this quarry ghost town and the landscapes that surround it. Forks of the Credit Provincial Park is within the boundaries of Caledon, Ontario. The park is located along the Niagara Escarpment, which is a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. The landscapes here vary quite dramatically, thanks to the escarpment, the ancient Wisconsin Glacier, and the Credit River, which has carved deep gorges through the rocky terrain. I didn't know it yet, but the elevation changes here can be dramatic, and my plan was to hike most of the park, including side trails outside the park boundaries. With camera gear and filming added to the hike, I was in for a grueling day. If you're interested in tackling this hike, I used an all-trails map. I downloaded the Forks of the Credit trail map. The trail I'm following is a loop trail, and I'm following it clockwise. On this first section, I passed through amazing open meadows with beautiful views across the park. Soon, the meadows change to forest, and the landscape gets steeper. Here I weave my way through dense forest and around deep ravines. Continuing along the path, and I exit the park boundaries and make my way to Brimstone. The trail opens up to a wide path. This is Dominion Trail, and it's actually all that remains of the original street and village of Brimstone. Just imagine, this used to be the hamlet of Brimstone with worker cottages and people and families, and horses and buggies would have trotted up and down Dominion Street. But before I head north on Dominion Trail, I'm heading south towards the abandoned railroad and the ring kiln ruins. To get there, I'm following the modern Dominion Street of Brimstone, which is a quaint residential area today. Making my way south, I come across extensive road and landscape work, which appears to be shoring up the banks of the river, which is continuously eroding the land. It seems the Credit River is still trying to take back Brimstone and Dominion Street. Back in April of 1921, Dominion Street was washed away in a spring flood. It was around this time that the quarrying boom was winding down, and the hamlet and most of its worker cottages disappeared. Brimstone emerged in the 1870s, shortly after quarrying operations began in the area. The main resources extracted from the surrounding quarries was sandstone, limestone, and large rock formations. And this particular region had the purest and hardest materials in Ontario, making it excellent for building. Brimstone developed as a company town centered on the quarrying operations along the Credit River Gorge. But it wasn't the only one. Other small communities popped up, and the area was home to hundreds of quarrymen and their families. I could have easily called this Cataract or Forks of the Credit or by some other community name, but Brimstone sounded the coolest. At the end of Dominion Street, turn left, then right on Chisholm Street to pick up the trail. This side trail takes you up a steep slope along the rugged terrain of the Caledon Mountains. About halfway up the steep slope section, and I reach the abandoned railroad. The Credit Valley Railway opened in the 1870s to service the growing quarrying industry. The railway helped turn the growing industry into a booming one for the next 20 years. This provided a much more efficient transport method. Along with the railroad, production was ramped up, with the introduction of incline railways, even aerial tramways, to get the stone up or down to the waiting freight trains. Today, the quarried stone from here can be found all over Ontario, including the Parliament buildings at Queen's Park. But quarrying operations would come to an end and Credit Valley Railway was taken over by Canadian Pacific Railway. The railway would be used for other train services until 2021 when it closed. I'm continuing up the steep embankment and heading towards what is supposed to be some very impressive ruins. Geologically, the region features layers of exposed dolostone, sandstone, and limestone. Particularly the Whirlpool Sandstone, which is named after the sandstone exposed along the Niagara River Gorge. The limestone was used for lime production, leaving behind remnants like waste dumps, stone dams, and high quarry faces. As I'm hiking, I honestly can't tell if what I'm looking at is the result of erosion or quarrying. Much of the quarries and their topography has been absorbed back into the natural landscape, and it's difficult to distinguish. Quarrying wasn't the only resource extracted from this area. Left behind by the Wisconsin Glacier, vast amounts of natural spring water reserves emerges from the bedrock. I read one article that said the water was, and still is, so pure that the Canada Dry Soda Company used it for their products and marketing, calling it the champagne of ginger ale. Now at the end of the trail, I've reached the Hoffman lime kiln ruins. This is one of the most prominent remains of the quarrying operations of the area. Built in the late 1800s, today it looks like something from the era of Stonehenge. At first, it's hard to understand what you're even looking at. But I think this rectangular-shaped structure once had a roof that later caved in. Limestone could be loaded into the ovens or kilns around the perimeter of the structure and heated until a final product was produced. From here, the now abandoned railroad is a short distance down the hill. The lump lime, as the finished product was called, could be loaded onto the waiting freight trains below. This long passageway is called the Rock Corridor, but I don't know what it was for. The huge stone chimney in the middle is a bit of a mystery too. If you know more details about how this place operated, please leave a comment below. Heading back to Dominion Street, I'm picking up the Dominion Trail right where I left off. Now heading north along Dominion Trail, it's a little eerie to think about the community that used to exist here. All that remains of the original Brimstone is this original gravel road. Today it's part of the Forks of the Credit trail loop, but it still leads to the next historic community to the north. The trail follows the Credit River for most of this section, before heading uphill towards one of the major geologic features of the park. The trail is quiet and peaceful, until you round the last bend, and hear the roar of the waterfall for the first time. This is Cataract Falls, which is home to another ghost town called Cataract. It was once home to a brewery, mills, a post office, train station, and an inn. Cataract was established in the 1860s as a milling community that made use of the hydropower of the falls. In the late 1800s, the mill was sold and converted to produce electricity. The new plant was known as Cataract Electric Company. The community even had 3 experimental electric streetlights. The plant was sold again in the 1920s and was named the Caledon Electric Company until 1947. The falls and gorge are really impressive, and way more interesting than I had expected. The bridge that crosses the upper falls offers great views down the gorge towards the precipice of the lower falls. The abandoned railway lines run through Cataract, and the train station that once operated here is gone. Continuing along the loop trail, I pass over the Bailey Bridge. Following the meadow trail back, the landscape changes from rocky forest to open meadows. It's a great way to cap off this hike. The sun had finally started to peek out in the late afternoon, and now in the late evening, the sun is casting a beautiful warm glow on the dormant grasses of the meadows. one last stop at Kettle Lake to enjoy the remaining few minutes of daylight. I'm honestly blown away by how much history this one small area of Ontario has. And like all my videos, I basically am just scratching the surface. I didn't even get a chance to explore the rest of Caledon or Bell Fountain. I did get a chance to drive some of Southern Ontario's best scenic routes, and just before dark too. The Forks of the Credit Road is a 7-kilometer long, steep and winding route, and features a hairpin turn that's popular with car and motorcycle enthusiasts. It was pretty fun, but next time I'll need to drive something sportier. I'm Mark, and I make videos about places and experiences here in Canada. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. See ya.